Listen here, all you cult of the new people. We sometimes play games from before, and this is a list of at least 10 of those games.
What's up, everybody? My name is Nick.
I'm Mike.
We are the Brothers Murph. Today we're talking about top 10 new to us games from this year. It's the end of the year. We always do kind of a reflection. We did our top 10 games of the year. Make sure to check out that video. But this is going to be top 10 games that were new to us. These are not from this year and also not from last year, rather.
Yes.
Because we will do a revised list of last year's list, because whenever we do our top 10 games of the year, we never played everything. So we're going to essentially do a revised one. So this would be from games that are from not 2023 or 2022, but before that we played for the first time this year.
At least 2021 or earlier. Yeah, it's really fun to like have a chance to play games that are from yesteryear. Because it's just never possible to get them all done right when they come out, and there's some classics from before. So here's 10 great games that we played for the first time this year. So number 10 is the oldest game on our list. I think.
I assume so.
This one's from way back in the 80s. This is a game called Maloney's Inheritance.
Yeah, I think 1988, an old Ravensburger game.
It's an old Sid Saxon game. Yeah. Classic designer. And this is a game where you are a family and you're going around to like Uncle Maloney who passed away, and they basically had houses all over the United States, and you're going to different houses hoping to turn in cards that match that city. Yeah. And depending on what day of the week you are at that city, those cards are going to be worth more or less kind of points and stuff. So you kind of want to be at the right city at the right time, which is really interesting. And you can essentially, when you're in Sacramento, which is one of the cities, which is fun since we're from there, you can basically get a range of cities that you can go to from Sacramento, and you can bid on basically being the person who's in charge of the car that day, who decides where we're ultimately going. Yeah. And so it's got this like kind of cool, there is some manipulation that you're doing in the game. That is, like, you can get a little tricky with it. And how do you hold your cards back? And if you arrive in a city and maybe have cards for that city, but it's not a good day for you to be turning cards in, you don't have to get rid of your cards. No. So there's actual decisions to make here.
Yes, there is.
And while it's kind of light and silly, it was actually super, like, solid.
Yeah, it was.
Like, it was a really good game.
A weirdly good game, despite it being an odd theme where you're basically just going around the country trying to take your rich uncle's money because he's like stashed it in all these estates.
They didn't believe in banks.
Real quick, we want to say also, these are new to us games. We want to shout out that if you are new to us, please make sure to subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. Yeah. Wow, what a picture-perfect segue into the subscriber bit. Break it down for him, Stan.
It's a true veteran move. Now, they were giving some of their signature, very annoying commentary, and who cares about that? But right there, if you just back it on up, you can see they're winding up to give that old subscriber plug, because a lot of people forget to do that.
Revolutionary, Stan, revolutionary. So make sure to reward them by clicking that subscribe button, and let's get back to those games. But this game is funny because the US map is like,
dude,
definitely drawn by someone in Germany, where Ravensburger is from, who has never been to the United States, because it's wild. It's absolutely wild. But the game itself is actually really good, despite it having this ridiculous map where like Phoenix is on the Canadian border, San Diego's in the middle of California, San Francisco is like where Seattle is. Like it's all
really
weird.
Wild.
But it's just interesting because you're bidding to essentially choose where you go next, but then you also want to go to certain cities on certain days, because this card, being in Santa Fe on a Wednesday, for some reason, this card, really good points. And so it's actually really, really fun, despite being a kind of an odd theme with the most weird map on the planet.
Agreed. Yeah, I'm actually trying to figure out even how to get to certain cities. Like, okay, I need to get from, this place to Charleston, then I can go to Buffalo, and like, that was actually really cool.
Yeah, because sometimes you're playing for the next city, not even necessarily this one.
You really can plan ahead. It behooves you to do so. And it's kind of a race, I think, to 70 points or whatever you want to do. But Maloney's Inheritance was one we'd heard about, is actually a good game, but the map, of course, what drew us in, because it is
so weird,
just so insane. And it's like, I know that it's like kind of pre-internet, but like a globe existed.
A globe, yeah.
An atlas still existed.
Yeah.
We had like
you had this information
circumnavigated
somewhere.
the Earth by this point. So I don't know how that map happened, but it makes it all the more fun. So that is number 10, Maloney's Inheritance.
Number 9, we got to play, actually the same person we played Maloney's Inheritance.
It's all Rainer's fault.
All Rainer's fault. This is Project Elite.
Yes.
This is a real-time game. It was originally from Artipia Games, and Simon paired up with them and did like a cooler version.
Yeah.
But they're essentially the same game. But this is a real-time, like kind of a shoot 'em up type game where you have some kind of mission that you're doing, and you have events that are happening, and you're basically trying to fulfill these while trying to make sure that these aliens that are coming in don't get to this part of the board. Basically,
Yes,
you're trying to like
escape, essentially.
Yeah, they're escaping and ruining everything. And so it's real time where it's 2 minutes on the clock and everyone's just rolling dice, and your dice can be to pick up, to like search for items, to get new guns. You roll like gun symbols, and you can put those on your guns to shoot.
Yeah.
You can also, you're constantly rolling alien faces, and then whenever you roll an alien face, you have to then move an alien forward.
Yes.
So everyone's doing this simultaneously, and everyone's just kind of like, oh God, oh, move an alien, move an alien. And these aliens keep on moving throughout the whole thing. Once the 2 minutes done, then the aliens will attack if they're like adjacent to you, so you also don't want to be next to them if you can help it. But you're also trying to like go over here and put these dice symbols on these cards to like fulfill these kind of like missions that you're essentially doing. Yeah. It's really fun. I've always heard great things about this game. It's a really good real-time game that I've always wanted to play, and we finally got a chance to play it. I was so hyped because it was really good.
Yeah, we played it at BGG Con, and it felt like a perfect setting for that kind of game where you can be a little more raucous.
I don't know how often I play this game if we like owned it.
No.
You know what I mean?
But like once a year, once every couple years at a convention, absolutely perfect. It was, because it's, you know, especially if you get the right group, and we had a fun group playing. It's just chaotic. It's a good time. It was actually really fun.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're just kind of beholden to the dice a little bit, but you're making decisions about how you allocate those dice and set them aside and stuff like that. It was I liked it a lot.
It was
really fun. I would happily play it again.
Yeah.
And yeah, it does kind of give you that feel of like running and gunning in like a video game, because everyone's sort of doing stuff simultaneously, and you're kind of calling out to your crew and stuff.
And there's different aliens that do different things, or are stronger or bigger. Yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah.
There's events in the game, so things keep getting worse, you know, and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. It's silly and fun. We played the older version, the Artipia version, which is not nearly as nice minis as like Simon, who are known for their minis.
Yes.
So I really want to try the Simon version, because I know there's like multiple maps and stuff, and the minis are a lot cooler, but it was really, really fun.
It was neat.
Would love to play it again.
Yeah, absolutely. That's Project Elite number 9. Number 8 is Hansa Teutonica.
Dripping with theme.
Dripping with theme. We got the big box.
The
which is actually
Hansas are tectonicking everywhere.
Tectonic, man.
I don't know what this game's about.
You know, you're doing stuff and making roots. It's about putting cubes on roots, okay? Listen, if we're not cubes on roots, dudes, I don't know who is.
I know, it's sad, but it's true.
It is ultimately a simple, you know, kind of area influence control kind of game.
Kind of route control.
Yeah. You are putting cubes out for the most part. The turns are very kind of snappy and simple.
Yes.
You're putting your pieces out onto these routes, connecting cities and stuff, and then hope to like kind of open up offices. If you connect a route, you can essentially pull your pieces back, put an office on one of those two cities, and you're kind of now controlling and influencing an area. You're kind of trying to build up. So Nick might be trying to like block me and stuff, and I can sort of, it makes it more expensive for me. I got to kick you out and then put my people down, which is costly.
To be able to put your discs out on these cities, you need to have the whole route be filled up with your cubes.
All you got.
So the thing is, and you're only putting out like 1 cube on a turn or 2 cubes, something like that. And so Mike could just be like, oh, I've got like 3 of mine here. I need 2 more. Michael just go like, I'm gonna put 1 there. And I can oust him, but it costs, I think, like double or something like that to oust him. So it's tough to, but you're constantly like, it's kind of a mean game. You're actively getting in each other's way, trying to slow them down. Certain spots will give you like a little bit of a power, so you're trying to get down to those spots. The different cities, different spots you can put down are the different colors of like discs, which do different things.
Yeah.
It's really good. It's very dry, but it's actually really fun. And this also, when we did our top 10 games with low rules but high strategy, a couple people in the comments pointed this one out. And I was like, oh, I didn't even think about Hansa Teutonica. But that's a really good choice, because the rules in the game are pretty darn simple. On your turn, you're mostly just putting out cubes, and that's pretty much it. There's not much you do. You're just trying to get these routes completed. There's not all these other like things going on in the game. It's pretty darn simple, but there's a lot going on. There's also in the version we have, there's been a lot of expansions and stuff. There's a whole bunch of different like maps and stuff.
So I think you can play like maybe certain maps you can play like a higher player count game, or you know, it's sort of like if you're playing in a lower player count game, or this thing, like a better map is gonna be a little more tailored, I think, for that player count, because you want it to be kind of tight and you're fighting over space and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so
it's really, well, also on top of that, this game is 3 players minimum, which is the only bummer for it. Because the original had a 2-player version. Apparently it was just really bad. People were like, this isn't a 2-player game.
Yeah.
It's just not a 2-player game.
I respect that they're like,
me too.
It's not good. We're not going to put it in here.
Yeah, totally.
That's not what this game is.
But it's good if you like just like pure mechanics, dry Euro. Housatonic is great. It's super simple. Check it out because it's really fun and we enjoyed it.
Absolutely. There's a little bit of building up of kind of skills and stuff. So there's like a good ramp up feel to it. But yeah, Housatonica, if you don't mind a little bit of dryness, get a little, just bring a beverage with you and just suck down that sand the way you like it. That is Housatonica. That came out way too aggressive.
Our number 7 is going to be a game we've been trying to get played for years.
Oh my
we
gosh.
finally got it played, and this is Glass Road.
Yeah.
If you know anything about us, you know we're big Uwe Rosenberg fans. Love Uwe Rosenberg. And this is one of the ones we hadn't played yet. And I really, really enjoyed it. It's kind of got some classic Uwe Rosenberg stuff where you have like land and you're putting tiles like buildings and stuff out on those lands. But it has something that's also, at this point, a very common Uwe Rosenberg thing where there's a resource wheel.
Yes.
Where you have resources like stone, wood, bricks, or was it bricks?
Clay,
whatever.
We're also mixing it with the Randenberg Canal as well.
I know, it's confusing.
Resource wheel, but there's that resource wheel where you can essentially, you have kind of basic resources and a couple advanced ones, and you can shift that wheel, which essentially eats up one of each of the basic ones to create one of each.
And
of the
in this
advanced.
one, if I remember correctly, this is the one where you don't actually have a choice. If you ever, you ever kind of get to the point where there's a gap on your lower resource size, your higher end resource like glass, I think bricks and stuff will automatically get made, which is kind of interesting because sometimes you don't want that to happen because you need these resources for something else.
Yeah,
it's really interesting. It's pretty darn quick, especially at 2, but it's got this really interesting card choosing mechanic where basically everyone has the same set of, I think, 15 cards that are, it's like a carpenter, like a blacksmith,
different
that
characters,
classic, kind of Euro-y stuff. And you're going to only choose a couple every round. And basically, if you're the only one who chooses them, you get to do both things on the card, I believe, right?
Yes, I believe you are rewarded for being alone in your selection of a card. If you match with somebody, like Nick chose something and I also have that card, even though it's not my active turn, I'm going to be able to basically turn in that card and do, I think, just the upper action again or the lower, but I get to do essentially more actions because now I'm doing stuff off turn. So there's this weird, like, I want some of my cards to not be chosen by others, but I also want to make sure I match with other people, so on their turn, I get to make something out of it.
It's really
some interesting back and forth play. Even at 2-player, there's some like, all right, you're trying to like gauge.
I think Mike's going to choose this person, so I'm not. It's very.
I always
very
enjoy the simultaneous selection kind of. That Libertalia, Coloma, any sort of, you're getting into people's minds about what are they going to choose right now.
It's really good. It's absolutely great. I want to pick it up at some point.
Pretty snappy, like you said.
Pretty snappy.
Which is nice.
Bunch of buildings. The buildings are mostly like endgame scoring stuff. Just classic Uwe stuff. Wheels, resource wheels, and farming stuff. It's great though. I really enjoyed it quite a bit, and I'm very excited to try it again because I love me some Uwe.
Absolutely.
That's number 7, Glass Road. Let's get number 6. Number 6 is a solo hidden movement deduction game.
Yes.
Called Black Sonata. Black Sonata is a really interesting game where you are, I'll say you're Shakespeare. You're not Shakespeare. You are kind of just like a detective,
Yeah, you're
an art detective.
A person about town trying to just get to the bottom of a mystery. Basically, Shakespeare wrote all these sonnets. A lot of them are very kind of romantic and flowy, and there's speculation.
The mysterious dark woman who's this mysterious woman that these sonnets are about. And that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to figure out who that woman was.
Who's this lady that is walking around town inspiring Shakespeare to write classical works. So you are basically on the trail of this mysterious woman who's walking around to different locations around this little location map. It's all very contained physically, which we appreciate.
I played on a plane all the time.
It works perfectly.
Very small.
And they're kind of working around in a programmed pathway. They're sort of going to be moving, in a predictable fashion. And as you play the game, you can kind of home in on like, okay, I think they're either going to go to one of two locations. Basically, every location will reach one or two other spaces. So if you can kind of get an idea of where they are, you could in theory predict where they're going to be. And if you can get your person into the spot where they end up, and then you have a chance to confront them and you actually spot them, you're going to gain a little bit of information about who this person is. Maybe something they were wearing. You might learn something that like, oh, they are royalty. And as you get these attributes, they're married, they have kids, all sorts of things, you can start to pare down who is an eligible person, because you basically have a fleet of these cards that are possibly this person. But they all only have, like, I think 3 different attributes. So as you kind of whittle things down, you get to that point where you eventually have a cascade of like, well, it can't be this person because that, it can't be this person because of this. It can only be between these two people, and you're trying to find those confrontations to gain more information, which is really fun.
Yeah, it's just really good, and the hidden movement part is interesting because again, you need on your turn. Like they're gonna move, the woman's gonna move, and then on your turn, you can either move or confront them if you think they are where you are. But you can't move and confront them, so you need them to come to you. So it's all, but the deduction, the hidden movement part's easy. Like so often, after 1 or 2 moves, you know where she is. Now granted, she then can go to a couple different places, so a lot of times you're like 50-50, like okay, it's either here or here, but that part's not difficult. And the deduction also isn't super difficult. But the mix of those two things of like trying to be in the right place at the right time while having the correct deduction is tough. And it's really, really fun. It's such an interesting game that just feels nothing like anything else. And there's a whole bunch of different like pathways she can take because of these cards that you put in a specific order, and that's the route she's taking. But there's a whole bunch of them in the book. So it's going to be not that you're going to remember what order she went into what. But it's really, really fun. I really like Black Sonata a lot. I think it's an absolute blast.
It's just really cool, interesting solo deduction experience. You think like, that isn't app-driven, mind you, and there's nothing wrong with app-driven games. We don't mind those at all. But it's cool that it is all analog and still works. Like when you're kind of looking at it, you're like, how are we sure this is going to work? And there's like a little system where you can kind of check your cards and stuff. And it does work really well. So it's kind of just like a neat trick that they made something fully analog that can still give you a good puzzle and kind of this movement aspect in the game. It's really cool.
An absolute blast. So that's Black Sonata number 6. We really enjoy it. Let's get number 5. Number 5 is a game I got to play, and I've been wanting you to play so badly, and that is Dimension.
Dude, I'm so glad. We were at BGG Con, and we were in a point in the night. It was kind of late, and they were like, I don't know what we should play, and you
I think I grabbed it,
at the library and grabbed it, and so I finally got to try it as well, and oh my gosh, it's so good. This is a puzzle game where you have these colorful balls, and you are making a pyramid of them. You have to stack them up and kind of arrange them in such a way, but there's going to be various rules that your construction must follow. It might be that orange and black have to be touching each other at all times. There could be things like gray and blue can never touch each other. You can have certain things like certain colors can never have anything above them, or they can never have anything below them. All sorts of rules like this. And you're going to get 5 or 6 of them or whatever it is. And you have to try to build something that ideally satisfies every single rule to get kind of the maximum amount of points possible. It is so satisfying to build and work through that puzzle. It's one of those great situations where I'm like, I don't care if there's not even anyone else here. I just want to build my little thing and find ways to get each of these rules satisfied at the same time and build this pristine pyramid of colorful balls. It's so immensely satisfying to do.
I think it's incredible.
I feel like a genius when I do it. And it is actually doable.
Almost always. There are some times, and this is a house where we always have, there are some times, because you can't have it where it's like green and white have to touch. Green and white can't touch. Those are not compatible. You could draw those rule cards back to back, but just ditch the second one. But you're always going to have 6 rules, and everyone has to make their thing work with those 6 rules. And one is interesting because people do it in like different ways, but it's just this puzzle of, no, this can't go there because black can't touch orange. And green has to be on the bottom. And you might be like, you can't have any white, or you can only have 1 green. And so you're like trying to work it out how to do it, and then you get more points for using as many of the balls as you can.
You want to build a complete, I think it's 10 is the total.
Pyramid.
You want to build a complete pyramid
It's
possible.
so much fun. And then you want to do all of these things. It's really, and you're on a timer, so like that's tough. But even then, I would just be like, you can even ditch the timer, just be like, just build it. Like, see how it happens. Dimension's so good.
It's really, really cool. If you like those spatial type of puzzles and stuff, if you don't, this is not going to be a good time. But it is so fun to just try to stretch your brain in that way. It's just a puzzle game. That's it. There's no, anything else going on. Man, it's really cool. I wish it was more widely available. We're looking at like trying to find a copy on eBay. I hope it comes back. Cosmos.
It might be a bit expensive to produce.
Probably, but I'm like, I just think it's really unique. I think it's really cool. I think it'd be something that'd be like great for like Barnes and Noble. Because it does go in that direction of logic puzzle.
You could do it with tiles.
You could.
They don't. I mean, the stacking of these nice wooden balls are very nice, but like you could do it another way.
Sure.
But unless Dimension's an absolute banger. It's so good.
It's really, really solid.
It's number 5. It's so good. Let's get number 4. Number 4 is
Ra.
classic.
Yeah, who do we worship? The sun god named Ra. Okay.
It's true. Mike's not wrong.
This is Ra. Reiner
Ra,
Knizia,
yes,
classic.
a classic runner because we played the
Brought back in new, fanciful fashion by 25th century.
Yes, exactly. We got to
But
play
it's been around a long time.
that version, which we actually have, but we hadn't had a chance to play it. We played it, and I'm so glad we played it specifically. We played it with Grant Lyon. If you don't know, he's on YouTube. He's a wonderful human. And he like loves Ra, and I'm really glad that we played it with the group that we played it with because they all knew Ra, and there are certain things that Grant specifically was pointing out.
Like strategic concepts.
Yes, exactly. But this is a bidding game where there are going to be tiles coming out, certain things. There's a lot of like set collection in the game. You're trying to get these tiles to like, you want all these ones to be different, all these ones to be the same, all these different kinds of things. But at some point, I think people can invoke Ra, which means there is going to be then a bid. There's going to be an auction for these tiles, and you can kind of do it. Anyone can kind of invoke Ra. And then you basically going to go, I think it's only once around the table.
Everyone gets one chance to bid if you want. You don't have to.
And you're bidding with these tiles. And these tiles are going to be like 1 to, I think, 15.
Yeah, these sun tiles.
And these sun tiles, and that's what you can bid with. And you'll have 3 of them for the most part, and then you choose one of those. So if you have like 1, 2, 3, that's real bad, obviously. You're probably not going to be able to win this thing. But the interesting thing is whenever you're bidding, there is a sun tile on the board. So whenever you win a bid, you are then going to take that sun tile and swap out the one that you used. So it's one of those things, if you use like the 15, which cannot be beaten, you're then going to swap it out with whatever is there, which means the next person to win a bid is now going to get that.
Yeah.
And it's like this interesting where Grant was talking about, he's like, so often you're playing for that.
Yes.
You're playing for the sun tile, not even so much the actual tiles are scoring you points, because that, we kind of got in those pickles where you're like, oh, I just got a 2.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to win crap with this 2.
If all 3 of your, or however many you have, depending on player count, are bad, in the next round, it's going to be tough for you. So you have to kind of consider, like, not only what tiles am I getting, what sun token am I getting?
Yeah.
And at the end of the game, I think whoever has the highest one or the sum total highest gets a certain amount of points. So you're also playing for some possible points at the end of the game too. And that was massive for like taking it from like, I don't know, just get some tiles and do some set collection, which is like, at its base what you're doing. Doing some set collection with the tiles you collect. Certain ones you collect all game. Certain ones are just for this round, and then you do the next round and they go away. But adding in those thoughts of like, when and how you bid, and if you're the last person, you have like 2 of your tokens, and you're the only one in the round, you're just going until you decide you want to do those things. You have 2 guaranteed wins in your back pocket. So you're like, do I hold on to one of my things so that hopefully I'm the last person? Making those decisions about when and how to bid are really, you can be very strategic, or you can keep it kind of nice and light, which is kind of like what Knizia is at its essence, right? Reiner Knizia makes these games that are dead simple to learn, but there's a lot of strategy you can, interject into this game, and Ra does it very well. It's been around, I think, since '99. It's been around a long time.
Yeah, a new one.
And this new version is just really nice and chunky and wonderful. Ra, we're late to the party, it's fair to say, but man, it's really good.
We got there,
It's really good.
Ra's a classic for a reason. It's very, very good. It's number 4. Let's get number 3. Number 3, I think you just like, I'm buying it.
No, I did play it first.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I did play it first.
Okay.
I played at AirCon.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
I was over in Jolly-Old, which is how they call it.
That's what the British people say.
And I had a chance, some folks that know us suggested, like, hey, I know that you were interested in trying Obsession, which we had been talking about. It's one of my favorite games. I have a copy. I'm happy to teach it to you. So I said, yes, please. Boom. So we played it, and I played it, and it was the most lovely experience. We were just having a grand old time being fanciful folks, and then I picked it up after that.
Yeah, okay,
because I wanted to show it to you.
Yeah.
So this is a game where you're kind of a family in decline. You're a family that once, had...
You lose in your favor, yeah.
Yeah, you've basically lost your reputation. You lost all favor with the people. Your house is kind of run down. And you're kind of building it back up and getting your cadre of fanciful friends back around you and stuff like that, and making use of the help, as it were, to kind of put on events. Like, that's what you're doing. You're going to go bowling on the green. It's basically Bridgerton come to life, right?
Yeah, more or
Downton
less.
Abbey. And we are trying to kind of become an esteemed family in society once again.
Yeah.
So that's what you're doing. But every turn you're taking, you are putting on an event, which is basically the tiles that make up your house. You start with 5, one of each of the colors, and you can be buying more as you go. And those events are going to require certain members of your service to
So your
kind of
butler
host
has
the
to
event.
go, yeah.
And you're going to need X amount of members of the gentry, which are like general cards, or certain specific, you might need specifically ladies or gentlemen or family members or whatever it might be. You're going to have requirements of certain cards you must play to carry out this event, and a lot of those people are needy people who need a lot of help as well.
I need my handmaid to
I
come
need
with
my
me.
valet. Where's my valet? Because they can't fend
Do
for
anything
themselves
for
in the
themselves,
wild.
yeah.
And so you need it's kind of this resource management game in that way, where it's like, not only do I need to do this event, I need to have the right cards, I need to have the right pool of my service members to come and carry out this event, to get money, reputation, and then ultimately, more cards, which are people that are now coming to your house and visiting, and every card you get, you announce who they are. It's like, Lord Ellington is arrived, Esquire, from,
out from Wales,
Dukes of Wessex, man,
exactly.
and stuff, and you're doing things like that. So it's just a fun, interesting theme. It's a funky, weird game.
It's a weird game. Nothing really feels like it.
No,
It's kind of worker placement, but not really. It's kind of action selection, but kind of not really. It honestly, really goes down as like one of the most unique games I've played. I don't know. It's weird, but it's really, really good. It's outstanding. It's built a little different. But nonetheless, that's Obsession. Number 3. Let's go and get number 2. Number 2 is a game that has become such an evangelism game for us, and this is Nana or Trio. You can get Trio here by Cocktail Games.
Today.
Nana is the Japanese version, but unless you're in Japan or nearby, you can't really get Nana, which I do like that version a little bit better, but ultimately it's the exact same game.
Game-wise, it's identical.
You see Trio, it's the exact same
Trio's
game.
super pretty too.
But Nana is Gamers Go Fish.
That's how it's
basically what it is. You're trying to find sets of 3 cards. Their cards are 1 through 12, and there are 3 of each. There's 3 1s, 3 2s, 3 3s. And you're shuffling them up, and you're giving everyone a certain amount of cards, depending on the player count. And there'll be a certain amount of cards just face down on the table. And you're trying to find a set of 3. So if you have like a 1, you want to try and find, hopefully, the other 2 1s.
Fingers crossed.
And so on your turn, you can ask one person on the table 1 of 2 questions. You can basically be like, Mike, reveal your highest card. Then Mike has to show his highest card. You can't like bluff or anything like that. Or you can ask to see someone's lowest card, or you can go to the table and be like, table, what's this card? And flip a card over there. And basically, like if Mike flips over, or rather, Mike shows his lowest card, which is a 1, and I go, Mary, what's your lowest card? And she shows a 1. I've now found 2. I can keep going. And then basically, if I have the 1, I can be like, Nick, what's your lowest card? And then put down the 1. I've now found 3 1s. Boom. I now have a set. Once you get to 3 sets, you win the game. And it's just this super simple game that works so well because it's just a bit of memory of trying to be like, oh gosh, what was Steve's highest card? Was it a 9?
Right, because if you don't succeed in your challenge, like I ask you what your lowest card is, it's a 1. I ask Mary, and her lowest card's a 3.
Done.
I'm done instantly. We all pull back our cards, but we've all seen, everyone on the table gets to see what gets shown, even if it's not their turn. So now we all know, okay, Mary's got a 3. I shouldn't ask about a 2 or a 1 over there. So that's when that memory element comes in. And that's really all there is to it.
Yeah.
It's really simple. There's ways to shortcut your way to victory. But it's a great game of things where you assume if there's cards 1 through 12, everyone's lowest is a 1 and everyone's highest is a 12. And I go, what's your highest card? And it's an 8. I'm just like, whoa, okay. Yeah. I got to hang on to that memory because the information, because how does that possible? So it's just interesting the way people's hands kind of, end up getting sorted out and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And there's just that wonderful little bit of memory. It's really fun because I love that you can call on yourself.
Yeah.
What's your highest card? Oh, no, it's an 11. What's your other highest card? It's another 11. I win. It's just a good time. Super simple to get into. Very easy to explain. Light rules and stuff, but just that little bit of memory with a little bit of I guess gamership or whatever, with the ability to shortcut your way to victory is just cool. And it's
so good.
Isn't trying to be anything more than what it is. No. A nice, simple little card game that is, great at any kind of time to bust out and play around.
Yeah, it's insanely fun. It's just addictive. Great. We've introduced a lot of people. They then have gotten Nana from Japan, and then they've just introducing it to everyone they possibly can. It's very, very good.
And again, you can get it as a game called Trio. Exact same game, got beautiful art as well. So do check that out. If this game sounds interesting, search for Trio.
It'll be easier to get. Yeah. All right, that's number 2, Nana/Trio. Let's go ahead and get number 1. Everyone's kind of a foregone conclusion once we played it, and that is Kanban EV.
It's just an all-timer, dude.
Yeah, we
an
both
all-timer.
really like it, but you freaking love this game. I love it too, but Mikey's on a different level.
Ave Maria. And that's what I hear when I play it. This is a game
Fair.
from Vital Lacerda. Makes nice little light filler
A
games.
little bit filler.
Makes big old heavy games. This is a game where you are employees working in a car manufacturing plant, making electric vehicles. This is just a redo of Kanban. Not much has changed with it other than kind of layout stuff and things like that. We haven't played the original, but we played EV. So, man,
There's something about it.
there's something about this game that, yes, it's a big game. There's a lot to munch on, but unlike other Vital Lacerda games, which we are investigating and engaging in more of, this one has like a intuitiveness to it.
I agree.
Where it just makes sense. Like, I don't know the ins and outs of working in a car manufacturing plant, but I understand certain concepts. And in this, you're working in different departments on each day of work is what you're doing. And the departments are like the design department. So you're getting car designs. There's ones where you can get, vehicle parts, essentially. You can go to a spot where you are producing the vehicles themselves, and you have the test track where you're doing tests with the vehicles and driving them around and stuff like that. And there's just that intuitiveness of like, I want to make a car. Okay. I should probably have a plan for how a car should get built. Okay, have that plan. Okay, now I know the pieces I need. Let me go get some pieces. Oh, let me put those pieces into the car to build the car. Let me go drive that car on the track. It just makes sense that would be what you do. So
it's just linear.
It's just linear in that way. And I think that's so cool because the way that they integrate the theme into these mechanisms makes it very accessible, at least for our brains, despite being a big, heavy game. Kanban EV, Tool, who we love so much, did such a good job. It's just clean and like pristine looking. The board and everything is just, I don't know if it makes me feel like a factory, I guess, in that way, in like the best way, where it's just all like
it's
perfection.
Very stark, but in a good way.
Yes, there are the things that time out the game are basically going through weeks of work, aka big rounds, and then having work meetings.
Yeah,
because again, we are employees, and you have a boss who's going around and basically evaluating your work.
Making sure you're doing your job. Yeah.
Make sure you're doing your job, which they should be doing. And then you have meetings where you have to essentially present ideas. Yeah. And there's all those, they are mechanically is like objectives to go for. Like have red cars in your garage or have just these goals. Designs. Yeah. There are goals. But it's presented as like you're discussing and having these things.
I think we should have more sports cars in our life. That's thematically what you're doing.
I think that is hilarious. Yeah. That you are just like sitting in a work meeting and being like, I don't know, maybe like work on the drivetrain?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. It's hilarious. And I'm like, that's such a funny setting for work.
Yeah.
And have like this big, heavy like worker placement game in that setting is just really cool and interesting and funny and just feels very integrated, where you have a heavy experience that is ultimately mechanical. But as I'm going through it, I really am thinking of the theme throughout, which is not very common.
No, but
and I don't typically care, but I appreciate when it's there.
Of course, yeah. It's so good. Mechanically, it's so sound. Both of us particularly, we both enjoy like factory themes. We all watched How It's Made as kids because that show is fascinating. Like, I do want to know how they make bowling balls. I do want to know how they make chain link fences.
Dude, chain link fences are crazy.
Like, so it's just like one of the things where it's like, factories are fascinating. And so like, this is just, I like factories. And then it's just, the look is great, to knock it out of the park. And it's just like Mikey said, it's linear, it's intuitive, it's heavy. It's
just beautiful in every way.
It's an all-timer. It's very, very good. It is our number one for this year. For the moment
really
we played
curious to see where it's going to land this next year when we do.
I feel like for you, it's going to be high up. It's going to be high up.
Top 10 game, baby.
I think for Mikey, it probably will be. I don't think it'll be my top 10, but for Mikey, it probably will be.
Might be.
But nonetheless, that is our number one, and that is our list. Yes, these are top 10 games that are new to us. Also, we want to put this caveat at the beginning, but we both have played all of these games. There's definitely some games that only I played or only Mike played that did not make the list.
Hey, Mike, didn't you play Star Wars Rebellion and Gaia Project? Yes. Would they be on this list? Yes. Has Nick played them?
No, not yet. And so just know that if we missed something you've heard about, it's probably because of that reason, or we just didn't like it that much. It is also a possibility.
It is also possible.
Indeed. So let us know down in the comments below what your favorite game, new to you game, so basically not this year, maybe not next year, but earlier than that, that was your favorite game that you played that was new to you, because there's so many great games and we can't get to them all, and sometimes we miss them and we got to play them years later, like Raw, where it's just like, this game is not
sometimes
new.
like 24 years later.
Yeah, you know, whatever, it's easy.
Millennials here, sometimes several decades later.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. You've been seeing our patrons scroll down here at the bottom. We really appreciate all of your patronage. If you want to support us, we really do appreciate, even just watching is great.
Yep.
But if you want to give us a couple bucks, you can check out the Patreon in the description. But do thumb this video up, do click subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll catch you all next time.
Bye, everybody.